Okay, there we go. What's going on, everybody? So let me get this, get my camera all set up here, and we'll get going. I'll show you what we have going on. So this is a first for me. I am a night owl by nature. Always do everything at night. I don't like mornings or daylight that much. So I thought I would do a live and show people what I do all night. A lot of people think I do it every day, but it's actually mostly every night. So what I have here, let's see if I can zoom this out. So I'm going to have to play with the camera a little bit because if it's something I decide to keep doing, I've got to figure out how to get it all set up so everybody can see. So I'm open to any suggestions here. This is the first live like this that I've done. So if you're a turner and you're curious, here is where I am at. This is a big old chunk of Bradford Pear here. Almost 20 inches. I'm hoping to get about an 18, 17 inch bowl out of it. Anything I do with stuff this big, I use big face plates with lots of, in this case, 4-inch screws. This is a lot of rotating mass, and it would hurt extremely bad if it were to, say, smack me in the face because I didn't have it secured good. So this is how I like to do mine. I just kind of bear hug it after I get my faceplate mounted. We're going to turn it on the lathe here. All right, now you can see I've got it mounted on the lathe. I'm going to take my tailstock here. That marks the dead center of my big blank. And now I had already done this before I decided to go live. I'm just showing everybody what I did. I put my, use my calipers, and I've already got a nice kind of outline here to make everything around. So during this, I'll try and answer comments as I see them, but for the most part, it's just going to be me doing my thing and what I do. But I will try to answer any questions if you have any. All right, so now you can see on this end, I've got this up on my lathe. You can see here the little index marks, my handy dandy little stopper there. Now I know my chainsaw is a little bit dull. Electric chainsaw is one of your best friends when you're a turner. So I'm going to use a Dremel, put a little bit of an edge on this, and then we're going to get this thing generally round so it's balanced. And if nothing else, watching me do some of this stuff live will maybe give some people absolute appreciation for what goes into making any video. Instead of doing takes, I am actually doing this live. And so there's a lot of stuff. No, I usually don't remove the bark because some people like the bark. If the bark remains intact, I'll leave it. If not, then I'll take it off. And one of the bad things about this particular electric chainsaw is I can't spin the blade. I can't move my chain. So I only get about 3/4 of it sharp. I just do it as I go. And this is the part most people don't usually see when they're turning, because usually most of your turning videos, you know, is sped up and it starts usually at the fun part when it's going clunk, 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 and shavings are flying. Unfortunately, that is a very small part of the actual turning process. The majority of the time is in the prep work and then the sanding. And sometimes, yes, I keep a lot of chains because you do mess a lot of chains up doing this on the lathe. However, a very big bandsaw to cut these perfectly round runs in the neighborhood of $4,000 to $5,000. Plus, it takes a lot of time, and it's a real pain in the butt to cut stuff this big on a bandsaw, even with a jig. I prefer my quick chainsaw method. Gets it done nice and fast. Alright, so now you can see it's actually making a little bit more of a round shape. Anything you can do with the chainsaw or grinder, any kind of cutting tool before you get it on the lathe, speeds it up tremendously because it's going to be much better balanced and It's just a lot faster to take big old chunks off than try and take it off a little bit at a time. This is one of the big safety things when you're turning a huge piece like this, and so you get a lot of it off. You're going to put this tailstock up and tighten it. In case it does randomly fly off, this won't be very hard to fly off, but it's going to help stop it a little bit and protect you. Where did I? And you guys can see there's Copper Pot. He's got his bed. He's being kind of, there we go. He's going to go chill out. I cleaned the shop up a little bit, and so his big pile of chips isn't here. Hey, buddy. But he's happy on his bed. Also, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out right now before we get any further in there. Who knows what you'll hear. I talk to myself a whole lot, and most of what I say offends a lot of people. So if you're easily offended, this live might not be the best thing. I'm not going to say anything crazy will happen. This disclaimer. There may be some F's given, and there may be some F's not given. It all depends on how smooth everything goes. Alright, so what I'm doing now is adjusting my tool rest. Generally, for most anything you turn, you want your tool to be about on the same plane as your center line there, like this is. I love my Rikon set of gouges and scrapers, easy to sharpen, and this is one thing that also takes up a lot of time whenever you turn anything, because sharp tools are imperative if you want good results. This is a low speed grinder because we don't want to heat this up and get rid of the temper on it. Water down here to keep everything nice and cool. Since I have all this shape, it doesn't take but a tiny little touch to get my tools nice and sharp now. All right, sorry about that. I had left my Sharpie outside. So a good trick for sharpening pretty much anything. I also use this when I polish stones, cut and polish stones for jewelry and stuff, is I take and color this with a Sharpie. So you can see there, all my cutting edge has black on it. And now you can see there is no Sharpie left on my tool, which means that my grinder and my diamond wheel hit all my surfaces. And you'll see me do this a lot, especially turning a bowl this big. I like to keep my tools very, very short. It just makes everything flow a lot easier. All right, so now we're going to get started here. Got my hand-band little head. Face shield. One more thing, I gotta run back out to my car because I need my headphones. I like to turn my music. So now maybe it becomes a little bit more clear why it takes me so long to get everything done, because I forget absolutely everything absolutely all the time. True story. I sharpened my 1/2 inch gouge instead of my 5/8 gouge. Oh, that's a big piece of wood. I need my bigger tools here. And in case anybody's worrying, these are not cheap headphones. So I have my awareness on. I can hear the lathe, hear everything. So I don't really have to worry about getting caught off guard if something starts to sound funny. Yes, it's live, and I do still have a business to run, and a life. So there will be occasionally when I need to hop on the phone. Like I said, experimentation. We're going to see what happens. I've never done a live like this. And actually, I'm sending the link to this live to a friend of mine, a really good friend. I really like her, who doesn't even do Facebook, Instagram, nothing, and it's refreshing and it's amazing. She does YouTube, however. So I am going to send her this link so she can watch if she would like to. Okay. And this is the point where I hammer down and we get to going. And I'm only running a 2 horsepower motor with a VFD on here. That's what gives me my speed control. I'm going to upgrade to a 3 horsepower motor as soon as I get the money to replace it. Because you can hear it, it starts to bog down, especially when you have a big, like 50-pound piece of wood on there like this one. This isn't a small piece of wood. So it just takes a little patience, and I can't hammer down and really turn as fast as I'd like to. But it still does a good job, and as I get it more balanced and I can increase my speed, what I just did is something, if you are a turner and you're watching this, don't do as I do. Don't do much of what I do, especially if you're just starting off. Don't adjust your tool rest while your piece of wood is turning. Also, what I'm doing right now is something that I have had a couple people tell me, oh, you shouldn't go from left hand to right hand, turn in the same orientation. I don't buy into that because I'm ambidextrous. I turn however is comfortable. And that's what I recommend to people whenever they start turning and start asking questions. Turn however is comfortable to you, because that's going to be the most important thing. You can see I got to keep an eye on the speed. If it kind of starts getting a little bit out of control, and it's so big, it keeps sending my variable frequency drive into error mode. But there we go. We're getting there. Poor man can't be picky, right? So at this point now, I'm able to be getting up around, let's see, right around 500 RPM. It's more comfortable and it's a lot nicer to turn up around, 7 or 800 up. It really helps just make it a more enjoyable experience. But unless you have a much bigger lathe than I have, that's hard until you get your piece mostly roughed out. Plus, I think I need to do a little bit of work on my connections with my DFD. I'm not quite getting as much ass out of my motor as I had been getting. That or my belt's starting to slip. We'll take a day here this weekend and we'll tune it up. And with this mask, if somebody doesn't mind, let me know if you can hear me. I have no idea if you can hear me or not. Like, the headphones are doing what they should do, but you should be able to, which is one of the reasons I got this particular face mask to use when I'm turning. So this is one of my favorite things about this particular type of wood. So, Bradford Pear, garbage, right? Invasive, smells bad, stinks. I agree. It sucks for everything except for making bowls. When it comes to making bowls, I have not found a wood I like better. Even to sanded to the same grit or off the lathe, it's like butter. Like, it feels so smooth. It's just a great wood to turn. I wish every wood would turn like this. And now I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm trying to decide the shape. This is, the point you can see is pretty much round. Start taking a look at it. It might take me a minute to figure out exactly what shape I want. And whenever I do that, I'm looking at the profile. So I sit here and look directly at the side profile. This is a big one, so I could just leave it a regular bowl. I could come up and make some wings here. I could make it more of a hollow form. Now that I'm looking at it, I think I might come and make it, make a little bit of a wing, kind of come up and turn. Keep it a little bit interesting. This isn't a crotch piece. There's nothing real crazy with this wood. It is pretty as always with Bradford Pear, but nothing spectacular. So I'm going to, give it a little extra interest instead of keeping it too simple. That should work. Okay, so the way this one's made with the wings, the sides kind of come down a little bit too far to really make that work for what I want. So we're going to go ahead and just make this kind of the absolute, I'm doing it to myself again. I'm going to make this one of the hardest, stupid shapes to sand. More of a sphere, not quite a complete hollow form. I'm not going to make the opening that small, but I will be cutting myself here in about an hour when I get ready to start sanding on it. Okay, I just saw it got stuck. I didn't even realize there was a lot more comments. Okay, there you go. People can hear me. Yeah, this is one of the biggest Bradford pears I've ever gotten a hold of. The crotch piece, the main crotch piece, was even bigger than this. So I was pretty lucky to get it. You don't see that often. Yes, they are pretty when they bloom, but they smell horrible, they're invasive, and they are really kind of worthless, except for doing this. And so this is even kind of simple. And this is kind of, thank you very much, and I really appreciate that. This is a pretty simple shape, I think. I'm going to keep going with it. I actually kind of like it. I think I'll teardrop back here a little bit more, come up just a little bit more on the sides, maybe right here. And yeah, that's what it's actually going to turn out to be, a very pretty shape the way it is. And right here, if there's any turners, anybody's curious, this is really when I know that I need to start sharpening or stop and sharpen. You can see I'm starting to get a little bit of tear out here. That happens when your tools aren't as sharp as they should be. So you always want to keep your tools just razor sharp. We're speeding it up a little bit. And you can hear the difference, especially down here after I get from the live edge. You just saw that. That's not good, having the loose stuff. I'm going to go ahead and take this shirt off because it is warm down here. And to any of my fellow turners out there, I think I have one or two of these left, t-shirts with pockets. I will never own another shirt with pockets ever again in my life because it just ends up feeling completely full of shavings and it's incredibly annoying. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty simple, very understated. But but usually you don't get a big log with this kind of a drop in it. You know, it's logs this big generally are much rounder. This one had a good like point to it. So I think I'm gonna leave that. I kind of like that, and then it's not gonna be too hard to get in here to haul out the rest of it. So I'm gonna finish cleaning it up, and I'm gonna do my thing how I do that is going to absolutely break a lot of people's hearts. They don't like it. You'll see. So what I'm about to do right now is called a shear cut. And that's one reason I like this grind, this long. Some people call it an Irish grind. Some people call it an Ellsworth grind. After a wood turner who actually just passed away recently, who kind of pioneered a lot of it. And I'll move it around to this side in case I have any turners that want to watch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present this bottom side here. And it's basically going to be like a razor blade. It's going to shave this close, and actually I'll go ahead and turn it off so you can see the before and after difference. And my variable frequency drive, because this piece is so heavy, when I turn it off, it'll over rev the motor after I turn it off. So I have to keep going over here and hitting the reset button on it. Just a safety thing, and when you're working with an old Franken lathe like this, it happens. So you can still see a little bit of tool marks. I mean, it's pretty smooth how I have it, but I'm going to use this, use my gouge here, and do a shear cut and clean it up. Anything to help keep from spending money and time sanding. Yeah, that's nice and smooth. You can't beat it. You've got to do a good shear cut because sanding is horrible. And before, I don't ever completely finish the outside of a bowl, but I like to get the worst of the tool marks out because that's what you'll really notice once one's oiled. So here's what I was saying people are going to be mad about. And I'm going to go ahead and caveat on this here, even take my mask off and all that stuff. So there's a whole lot of people in the turning world who have this like bone to pick. This just like crazy bone to pick with anything power. Like, you power sand, you're a piece of crap, you don't do it traditionally. Or, and I have all my different kinds of tools. The gouges I'm using right now are considered traditional tools, right? Even though I have a more modern grind on it. And then you have the carbide tools like this. Carbide tips, these are great, very easy to learn on. So they're great for learning on it. That's one of the things I like. But you have all these old, I'm going to say it, made a lot of people. I broke some hearts day before yesterday on Facebook because I said, listen, boomers, I don't care what you used to do. If you haven't changed the speed on your lathe since 1974, I don't care, all right? There's new technology and better ways to do things. Specifically, a whole lot of these guys that like to complain and whine about power sanders, carbide tools, and people not being traditional, they're using variable frequency drives, adjustable speed control. That's not traditional turning. So unless you have your feet going 100 miles an hour on a treadle, turning the speed of your bowl with your feet, shut the, you know what, up, and let this younger generation do what you guys are just figuring out and show you how to do it. Yeah, I said it. Sorry, boomers. Take it or leave it. If you get butt hurt because I called you old or called you a boomer, I don't care. I have spent the last 44 years getting nothing but shit from people for being a millennial. Millennials are lazy. Millennials suck. Millennials are the death of this country. Millennials. Yo, we're not the problem. You guys made this mess. We're cleaning it up. Back to turning. So what I'm going to do now is, you can see where I started right here. This is for me to be able to turn the inside of the bowl. I'm going to be using my Supernova chuck here, and this is what is going to go on here so I can spin it around, attached to this, so I can start hollowing out the inside. First, I've got to get this to the right size, make sure everything works, and then we'll go from there. And before the move, before I lost everything, I had, like, you know, little pieces of wood. I had all my stuff set up to do this much easier. However, when you move in a hurry to get stuff out, you know, stuff gets lost. Things I need to make, I've only had the lathe set back up for a couple weeks now, so all in good time. See, somebody don't get mad about it. It blew my mind when people got so mad because I just said boomer. Baby boomer. I'm a millennial. It's just it's a term of endearment, if you will. Stop being old and crazy, all right? I'm old. I'm 44 going on 97, so I dare say there's not many boomers out there that had more back surgeries, knee surgeries, shoulder surgeries, and all the other craziness that I've had. It's not personal. I'm just an asshole. All right, so what I'm about to do, I'm actually going to zoom in on this just a little bit. This is important for anyone who might be watching, who's actually watching for turning value, not Aaron being ridiculous value. All right, so one of the things with your chuck here, if you notice, it has a dovetail shape, so it angles outward, right? So this here, your tenon, I'm turning the tenon, like tenon's better than mortises. I've had better luck. Don't have as many failures. This needs to turn inwards so that it will catch, so that this goes out like, figure out the angle. This goes out here, and then this part goes in. So it will connect and get a really good grip all the way around and hold nice and tight. That's super, super important, or you're just going to throw a 40-pound piece of wood at this point at 600 RPM at your face, and it will not feel good. Ask me how I know. All right, so at this point is where I have to move the tailstock back. You're going to have to remove the tailstock, and this is a dangerous hobby, so it's just one of those things you accept the risk for. Another thing, if you're a new turner, never ever ever let this tenon touch this part of the lathe. Okay, there should be a gap between the bottom the bottom of your tenon and the bottom of your chuck. So I need to, you can see that would bottom out. We'll go ahead and check our. Oh, see, I need to go just a little bit deeper. All right, and that's perfect. You can't really see it, but there's about a 30 seconds of an inch gap between my tenon and the bottom of my chuck. So now I can put this up, tighten this down. We'll be able to flip it around and start hollowing it out. So I'll just set the camera back here a little bit, break something, and then as soon as I get, I will take a double check of the comments, take a breather. We'll go from there. Mojo has got, you don't even know. I told y'all, I'm a night owl. Y'all have never seen me in my natural element. This is my natural element after 8 p.m. till about 4 p.m. This is where I thrive. And when working with a piece this big, I wish I don't have the 4-inch jaws for my one-way stronghold. My favorite brand of chuck, the one I have, they're really expensive. The Supernova still does good, but there's this crazy kind of in between. Tighten it too much, it's easy to rip your tenon off. Don't tighten it enough, and your bolt comes off. Either way, you have a big piece of wood launched at a very high rate of speed towards your face. It's never much fun. And something anyone will make fun of make fun of this millennial, right? Whatever. I'll give it as I take it. But this is a probably, who knows, 100-year-old at least base for this lathe, connected to a 3-phase 2-horsepower motor with my variable speed or my variable frequency drive, which allows me to control my speed infinitely, because your old school lathes had belts, most of them except for the super high ones, belts, and you were very, very, very limited on your speed. And if you can't start super, super slow, it's going to suck. And I just realized I didn't do something to the outside of this bowl that I said I was going to do, if for no other reason than to make people mad. Now, where did I just put my... Oh, here we go. I spend more time looking for tools than I do working. Right? So, oh, Bradford Pear in the throat. All right, so power sanding. I don't understand why people say you're not supposed to power sand, why they hate it. I don't know. It makes sense to me. Sure, is it traditional? No. Neither is an air hammer. Neither is any of the fucking tools we use now. All right, get over yourself. Also, if you think about when this original bed was made with a lathe on it 100 years ago, people didn't turn stupid crap like this, big massive bowls. They hand carved for big bowls. It's a completely different day and age. And these tool marks are what I'm really wanting to get out. That's kind of like how you can really tell if someone spent the time on a bowl. You just don't want those tool marks. You don't want to see anything from where your tools were touching. How you go about getting the tool marks out, I always say whatever is the fastest, cheapest, and produces the best results. And even this guy wears these things when I start sanding. I've developed a walnut allergy where I will break out like poison ivy with the walnut. Still turn it regularly. I have some hives on me right now from turning walnut today. That's all right. The Bradford Pear also does the throat pretty scratchy. So once we get to standing time, out comes the masks. If it's walnut, the respirator. Technical dip. I just got these earbuds like 2 hours ago. This is what I'm talking about when you start sanding. Even when you get it smooth, you can see where these stripes are. That's still a tool mark that's just present a little bit, and it's just going to make the piece not look nearly as good. I like to at least get the first sand done. I sand everything else after this dries. The first sand I like to go ahead and get done when it's wet, even though I do go through some sandpaper. But I mostly use used sandpaper for this part just to knock the tool marks out. We're going to go back up to some 40 grit here. There we go. Never stop. That's the key with a power sander and a round object. If you ever leave it stopping for one spot or for more than half a second, you will notice it because you'll put a flat spot. That's why I have my little wheel back here so I can, squelch and turn this and keep it going during my sanding process on that spot. Now, it's a lot easier for a regular bowl than it is for a live edge bowl. Sorry, live edge bowl, but you have these at. You know, it's not perfectly round. So it makes sanding this part much more frustrating. Sanding a bowl that is not live edge is a piece of cake. I would have already had the whole outside of this bowl almost completely sanded up to probably 800 grit if this wasn't a big live edge bowl. And the biggest thing with power sanders that I like to tell people is, you know what, the customer, the people, you folks that buy these bowls, you're not going to look at a bowl and be like, oh, you used the power sander, I'm not going to buy that. There is a very few people that will know the difference if you power sanded or didn't. And in my opinion, it looks much better being power sanded than sanded traditionally on the lathe. This is why sanding a non-live edge bowl is easy. I take my speed up to about 200 RPM. Now, why would someone... Sorry if you get seasick. Here. That is so much easier than holding a piece of sandpaper up against it, waiting for the results. So, I get better results. I use less sandpaper. Sorry, it's not the way you learned in high school in 1965. Which is another one of my issues with old school wood turners. I don't care what you did in high school in 1960, bro. Because of the boomers, the lathes in the wood shop was taken out of my high school when I was in diapers. I never had the luxury or the privilege or the honor of learning this shit in high school. I had to wait until I had the money to do all this myself to try and practice. You're welcome. And I'm not necessarily yelling at all of you guys. A lot of this animosity is coming from people running their mouth on Facebook groups, on my posts and comments. So, far be it from me to not give someone the disrespect that they earn. People would be absolutely floored if they knew the amount of money that a professional wood turner spends on sandpaper every year. And in my case, with the gemstone and the stone inlay like I do, it's even worse. Another trick I'm going to throw out there, whether you're a wood turner or whether you're a woodworker, anything you do, sanding, a lot of people don't understand sanding. Like, it's so hard. I can't ever get sanding marks out. I can't ever sand. It's because you're skipping grits. So I start always. If I get a piece really smooth, I might start at 60. Start at 40 grit, 60 grit, 80 grit, 120 grit, 180 grit, 220 grit, 320, 400, 600, 800. If you try to go from 60 to 120, 40 to 220, 80 to 180, you're not going to get good results. You're going to get frustrated and you're going to end up spending 1,000 times more money and time sanding than you should have. Just go ahead and start with your super rough grit. Hit it easy. Once you get everything out, the rest of it's a piece of cake. Never skip grit. So one of the things you're seeing me do right now is when you start getting up here where it's not, you don't have constant contact with your cutting knife, it is very hard to not get tear out. I probably could have controlled that a little bit better. I didn't. And with live edge bolts, they're going to warp up. They don't look round anyway. It's an optical illusion. So it does give you a little bit more leeway to fix issues without having to return it. As long as you remember this bowl's round and you take the same amount of material out, and up here you can see I'm only having to take material from here to here. It's not like I'm having to keep the entire, keep it round all the way around. It's only just right here on this little wing. Butter. Hold on just a second. I just bought this really expensive set of earbuds. Didn't even think about it when I took my dust mask off. It flipped them out of my ear. I've got one, and I really don't feel like breaking this really expensive pair of earbuds within 2 seconds of getting them. I felt it too. Oh well. I'll catch him in a minute. But what I am going to do is go ahead I found one of them. So I'm just going to squeeze all this out of the way so I don't have to worry about stepping on it and crushing it. And then we'll go through it in a minute and find it. So that brings up another good point. How much dust and sawdust do I make? Well, it's outside. I have a 55-gallon plastic drum. In 2 days, I swept up in here day before yesterday, This morning, I got 7 55-gallon drums of pine shavings out of here. All locked. Yeah, I do with the sanding belt, like cut a sanding belt and use, that's more for, that does not work well on your live edge bolts because of the gap. So trying to hold a piece of sandpaper or a belt, it skips, just like with this power sander. So a live edge is a lot easier to, move it, and especially up on these wings, not do that. But yeah, I do that with especially smaller bowls where I can spin a little bit faster. But traditional sanding is really hard to not get lines because the bowl's going this way, you're holding sandpaper, so you get these lines going around and around concentric to your bowl from the grit on your sandpaper. Power sanding kind of eliminates that. For me, it just makes things a lot faster, easier, and I really like doing it that way. Turning candles on a lathe, now that'd be fun. Like that sounds like very satisfying because it'd be nice and soft and chill and easy. I wouldn't mind that at all. And this thing is still not light. I would say that's still at least this might have been about 75 pounds to begin with. It's still at least 50 right now. All right. And I just remember something else I've got to do real quick when I get these screws out. As we get there. My little impact here is about 7 years old. It was one of the very first Bauer models Harbor Freight came out, like as soon as the red ones came out. So it is about done. I might have to go get another one. Because those 4-inchers are in there tight. Hold on. I have another one right about here. Time for a ratchet. But I would rather have these things get stuck in here a little bit than come out at my head at 100 miles an hour. So, you know, it is what it is. This one is this is actually one of the first times I've ever had screws stuck in here that bad. Okay, we're gonna go to a brief intermission. I'm going. Yeah, well, not yet. I'm getting there. I don't get mad too awful. Easy. The dust and shavings right now, yeah, birds or right now they're mud control. All right, quick break. I'll be right back. I gotta get get these out without stripping them because when they get stripped, it makes it even more of a pain to get them out. That might work. 1925. No, it's not. We'll see this. He's down here somewhere.
Huh?
Okay, so what I'm scrounging for, and of course that's a T30. I need one of these with a T25 I can put a ratchet on, but I do not want to bust the heads off of that unless I absolutely have to, which might end up being what happens. If this doesn't work, I might have to come back and schedule this for tomorrow, because I might have to just, take a little while and hunt down the T25 with the ratchet. So I really don't want to have to drill all these out. It really makes for a not fun afternoon. Oh, there we go. There's one. Woo. There it is. So that's one reason I hate using the 4-inch screws, because they do tend to do that. And that's also why, if you are a turner, never use your screws for your faceplates more than once. I use brand new screws, and then they go into the still very good for building or whatever, but I never use my faceplate screws more than one time, because they get stressed and they start to snap. You can see even a brand new screw will also do that. So that's 1, 2 I've got to do now. There's always got to be that one. Oh, it's coming. Come in. Oh, all right. So now you can see, now I've got to deal with 1, 2, 3, 4. And just in case I do get frustrated in a minute and the F-bombs start coming out and I decide to walk away, as soon as I find my stupid Sharpie I had just a minute ago. Well, I don't know where the Sharpie went. So, where it go? There. And those, like, so I wanted to make sure and mark which holes those were in, because when you have, for instance, just the set of 3 knives for this handle, the 3 pieces like this, they've come down in price, but they were like $250 when I got them. So if you're cutting wood and then bam, there comes a screw, you just chip and lessen the life of your knife, and it takes a lot of time to get your knife resharpened. And this is where, a lot of people don't see most of the pain in the butt part, because this would be time lapsed and I would be, it just cut to me doing this, and I would spend an hour, however long I needed to get these screws out. So live videos are definitely more frustrating, but I thought I'd give it a chance, do something new and see how it went. There we go. starting to turn. Usually they're not this easy to get out. All right, there's one. This one's going to be a pain in the butt. All right, sorry. Had to get the drill bits. And this is one of those annoying things that happens when you use, or when you're turning big stuff. In case you're wondering, yes, I have done this a couple times. It's just kind of one of those annoying things we don't talk about much. All right, only two more. Almost there. And I am kind of a little bit bummed because you can see the live edge. I should have made my opening so big. We'll see. We'll be able to salvage it. I'm my own worst critic, and I'm never happy with anything I do. So... But in case anybody's wondering, I'll try and talk a little bit here. In case anybody's wondering, this is kind of where I wanted to head with my channel anyway. Doing more, making it a little bit more reality TV than it is. Because the only thing worse than actual reality TV is fake TV. Like, and reality TV is still fake. I don't know. It's just, at least like scripted, I want a good action movie with shit that can never ever happen. Instead of people trying to sell me a whole line of bullshit that they did reality that can never happen. It's the same thing. But if you do this kind of stuff, you know that people are full of it. And yes, I see your reality TV show and I see the excavator marks. Even though 2 days later we dug this by hand. No, you didn't, Rainies. Your homestead rescue, no, you didn't. Give it up. There are people that do this, know how to do it, can do it better than you. And you're not fooling anyone. So I would rather just give you all the actual no shit. This is how bad what I do sucks. I mean, who does this for a hobby? Really? 10 o'clock at night, trying to get stupid screws unstuck from the middle of a bowl. Gotta be an easier way to get by in this world. But I guess I wouldn't enjoy it nearly as much as I do doing this. All right, one more. Come on. I was worried this one was going to break off halfway in there. Then we'd have to turn it and kind of guess where it was and start again. All right, there we go. Wait a minute. No, these are not left-hand screws. You are looking in selfie mode on the camera, so everything's a mirror image. I am going lefty-loosey right now to loosen it, but from your perspective, I think that it probably looks like I'm going to the right. So no, they're not left-hand. They're not reverse. They're not reverse screws. They are normal old deck screws. So I do have a big Forstner bit. It's another one of those things that I kind of lost in the move, in the rush to try and get all my stuff out of the house I was living in. And I'll get another big 4-inch Forstner bit at some point. But a lot of times I will take the Forstner bit and run in my depth so I can take a big chunk out, speeds things up. On my to buy list that I want soon also is a coring machine, and it's basically a dish set of knives. I cut them with this shape, but you can basically make little bowls, like nesting bowls. So it'll cut the inside of out to make other bowls. Saves a little bit of time, saves a lot of material, and you can get more bolts from each piece of wood. I could, like, if I wanted to, it would take me 10 seconds or less to spend about $40,000. Like, I could name what I want, like item number, what it is, just bolt turning equipment. It's great for somebody that likes tinkering and gear because there's lots of stuff. All right. Whew. Okay. Take a breather. Let's get these. These are not Papa Hughes drill bits. We'll pretend like. At least we're going to pretend like they're not. So at this point, some people will still use their tailstock here. They will put this up and kind of turn around it. With this particular shape that I made this bowl, you can see that kind of not be practical because it would give me very little room to get my knife in. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and just remove my live center here and move the tailstock back. Well, I don't know, came out easy. In just a minute, I will have to put my other big tailstock on here. Face mask and sharpen our, I like using my 1/2-inch gouges for the inside. Puts a little bit less stress on the tenon because I tend to get carried away when I start turning something fast or something big on the inside, and I'll get a catch and rip shit apart. And now that we are done with all the nonsense, we can get back to the fun part. So I'm going to turn it on nice and slow. Make sure I don't have too much wobble on the chuck. That I don't need to readjust the chuck. Nope, that looks actually really, really good. As soon as I touch it and start spinning a little bit, I stop it and retighten my chuck. Again, I'm going at, like right there, I was going about 650 RPMs. That is somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 to 50 pounds. So if it detaches and goes flying, it makes for a not fun afternoon. There's just something to be said, like something more fun and a little bit more of a point of pride to be doing stuff like this with handmade tools. It's just so much cooler. Yeah, that'd be a lot of jelly beans. Papa, you'd be happy with that. Papa, you love jelly beans. But the handmade part aside, and having said that, I wouldn't complain about having, big crazy one way or like beauty lathes and tools and cool stuff. But we make do with what we got. A poor boy will survive. And I'm having some serious issues. Dust masses, the second one I bought today. I don't like regular face masks. Just don't care for them. But I can't find anything that doesn't fog up. I'm saying a lot of this stuff and I'll be tagging it so that some of these companies that make this shit will say, hey, I bet you can't break this. And I will say, hold my fucking beer. In other words, I hope people will send me stuff to try for free to break just to prove my point that I can break anything. And this is the part where I start to really regret the shape I made this with. Whew. And now for the part that, all right, so if you are a turner, a lot of turners will put their lathe up right against the wall. I don't like doing that. For one, if this does come off, hit a wall to bounce back at you. I'd rather have room to go out and down. The other reason, it is very nice to be able to get on this side of your lathe when you're turning a really crazy round bowl like this. Just be aware. It's just dangerous. Yeah, it's almost there. Besides, I wish my stupid glasses would stop fogging up. And I have a little bit extra weight. Yeah, right. No, there's some really crazy forged air. There's some unbelievably awesome face masks that don't bog up and do a great job. If you have $500,000, $600,000, lots of money. All right, so I got a little, started having a little bit too much fun here, and I think I've moved it in the chuck just a little bit. It started to bounce. It's not bad. Like I said, I don't want to take any chances, so I just want to check this out here. Make sure everything's still seated real good. Go ahead and loosen this up a little bit and turn my contact points. Again, you can put a wrench on your handle. There's a very fine line between adjusting your chuck tight so it doesn't come off. And we are talking about wood versus metal here. Your chuck is made out of metal. So it is easy and it can be done. I've done it where you tighten it so tight, you end up twisting your chuck off. All right, we're getting there. If nothing else, this will definitely be the longest live I have ever done in my YouTube career. Sometimes when one starts coming loose and being kind of a pain like this, I will actually take, and if I have to, I will have to stop for tonight. I will take super glue and take it off the chuck, and I will super glue the tenon. Just literally just super glue all around it so that it makes it really hard. Let it sit overnight. But what I'm going to do right now is just put my live center back in here, and I'm going to use my tailstock to center and push the bowl up onto the chuck really solid, and that way there's really not much of a better way to get it centered. And this is one reason a lot of people will use the tailstock. And if I had a bigger opening, I probably would too with this one. We'll leave their tailstock in here and just turn around it. But you can see I would have zero room for this style of bowl, so I can't really do that. All right, so I've got my, now it's nice and, you can see it's nice and tight all the way around again. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it down. And we're going to go for round 3, 4, 5, whatever we're sitting at right now. Yep, Bradford Pear is good for one thing only, and that is making bowls. That's my opinion, and you would be very hard put to change it. So you can see with this, you know, most bowls come out and flare out. Anytime you're doing a hollow form or a closed neck type bowl, you can see it gets really frustrating because it really limits the amount of space you have to work. This is another one of your best friends in any wood shop. Not only for pulling the inside of the pockets out, but for the inside of the bowl, but also pockets. I hate pocket t-shirts. I hate pocket t-shirts so bad now. Whew. That face mask is pointless. It will be getting returned tomorrow. I returned one other one today. You know, my face isn't that pretty to begin with, so we're just gonna wear glasses, and if it flies apart and hits me, it's really no big loss. And I heard something today that is probably going to be my quote for 2026. It might be my quote for the rest of my life. I can't even say it with a straight face, really. But I find the extreme joy or I find extreme amounts of pleasure and joy in pushing the edges of conventional wisdom. Think about that for a minute. And you can see I start and stop a lot. I do not consider myself a master turner or an amazing turner. I mean, I've been doing it a few years, done a lot of it, but I never like to rush to failure. Like, I'll start and stop as many times as I need to make sure I'm getting exactly what I want from what I'm turning. All right. Sharpening your tools is something that is never, ever, ever over with. And you do it, it seems like all you do is sharpen tools half the time. But your results are only as good as your tool is sharp. really hope I can find this other earbud because these were not cheap. So it's a little bit too early to be using this, and I'm not even sure that this one is going to be, I might won't be able to use it. But this is one of my depth gauge calipers. So you can see it lets me know how thick the bolt is. So you can see right now I am about 1.5 inches thick here on the end. And one of the goals, one of the things that you always want to try and do is the thickness from the top lip all the way to the bottom needs to be consistent. I don't want the thicknesses to vary. That's where you will start to get a whole lot of cracks and a lot of issues with the wood. Plus, you'll notice it just does not look as good if it's not even. That's when you start to get the bolt comes alive and it really starts to take shape. Is when you get everything even like it should be. my switch tool. So that's about as deep as I can get in there. You can see this can be kind of a dangerous proposition sometimes. Luckily today I got something else that I had lost in the move. Where did it go? Here it is. So this is my my swan neck scraper. You can see how hard it is to get into the edges there. And you might see a little bit of blood. Don't worry, it's only a scab. Like, it's only a scab that caught on the part. I didn't actually hurt myself. And if I did, it wouldn't change anything. So we are going to adjust this just a little bit. Let's see, how is my depth looking? Yeah, we still have a long way to go in here. And yeah, the color, the Bradford Pear, is probably one of the prettier colored woods, especially for orange that I've worked with. And I've got a lot of wood to take out in here, like still a couple inches. So I'm gonna put the the small scraper on here, which will let me take a lot more material out at a time than just the big scraper. And then we'll use the big scraper and no one can say they weren't warned. I did say, I think in the description, or I don't know, somewhere, like if you have trouble falling asleep and you need something to put you to sleep, that this would probably do. we are getting closer, you can see. And as I keep going down, so you can see this thickness right here will maintain all the way around. So as this goes down, this will all end up that thickness. It'll end up looking pretty cool. It's going to take me a minute to get there. And talking about keeping the tools sharp, the gouges aren't all that has to be kept nice and sharp. Yeah, I really didn't figure anyone would be sticking around all the entire time. That'd be a lot of time, because this is a couple hour that's one reason that I don't mind making fun of boomers and old people for being old, because I am old. I'm an old young soul. I always have been, and that's okay. So this is the scraper that goes in my tool there, and you can see it's got this flat surface. And so for sharpening these, all I do is I'll take 1,000. I probably need to go down a little bit. Here we go. 600. This will work a little bit better. And I just hold it nice and flat and hone it on this diamond pad here. And that's going to put a little bit of burr and get that edge of that scraper nice and sharp. And I dulled it pretty good, so I'm actually going to have to put a little elbow grease into this one. That's better. But I'm pretty sure I never said, hey guys, come join me for this live. This will be done in just a minute. At least I hope I didn't, because that would have been a lie. Adjusting this tip again. And if you are a turner, like I just got this Robert Sorby Hollow Master. It's a little bit frustrating to first use. You think it's going to work one way and it doesn't. So it takes a little bit of practice, but once you get it going, it actually does a pretty good job. I just got it today, and this is the second bowl I've used it on, but so far I'm fairly happy with the results. Whew. I need easier hobbies. I'm adjusting this scraper tip a little bit forward. That's one thing I really like about this tool is you can make fine adjustments. Makes it much easier than just a normal swan's neck, a normal crook, to do like micro adjustments when you're turning, especially a big old honking bowl like this, because you're ridiculous and you know you didn't think about it before you put it up on a lathe. I mean, what's the point? Why do I need to be turning something this big? I don't know, but I am. So here we are. So there's actually another tool that I'm going to be making shortly, probably this week, that helps with this. And what it does is it's got a rest up here, and then back here it's got two pieces like this, that the back end of a gouge, where you make a piece of metal that will hold it, so that those catches, it can't come up and kick your ass like is happening now. Makes things a whole lot faster and easier. And I need to make some adjustments on our rest, because I'm not happy with how this rest is acting. Trying to get in here and You can still see right here in this spot, I'm still about that thick. Like I'm still 3 inches thick on the bottom. So I'm only just now starting. This one is probably going to end up not getting finished tonight. I should have done a little smaller one for the live, but I just like, hey, do a live with what I'm actually doing at the moment. So you can see a bowl like this is not fast. It doesn't get finished fast. But we're going to finish it, damn it. Gotta remember I can adjust this tool, it's brand new. It's gonna make a lot of difference. I just gotta remember to use it correctly. There we go. So now I can get up there much better.
That's what I call it.
I'm going to switch to the big scraper here on my hollowing tool and clean up the inside, and then I think that will probably about do for tonight. It's look at that, going on 3 hours. I knew this big bastard was going to be a pain in my butt, especially with learning curve on a new tool. It is what it is. I would be out here anyway. I will still probably be out here for, I don't know, several hours. It is my lunchtime, really, technically. Like I said, I'm a night owl. I don't operate on most people's schedules. Like my schedule a little bit different. So it's right now lunchtime in my world. I got some fresh chicken nuggets today, so time to go heat up my main source of food. Heat up some chicken nuggets, sharpen this big scraper here, put this on. We're going to clean up the inside a little bit and see where we're at, and I think close it out for this video. Definitely the longest live I've ever done. No clue if I'll keep doing long lives like this. I'll wait on feedback from people. If you'd like me to do more lives when I'm doing turning on bowls like this, just let me know. I don't know what people like to watch unless y'all tell me, because believe it or not, I don't watch YouTube. I watch my videos when I edit them, and I use YouTube Music. I don't watch any YouTube videos at all, ever. Nothing against them. I don't know, just something I've never done. Even though I've been making YouTube videos for what, 5 years now almost? So this tool, like so I'm saying, getting used to it because there's only half of it there. My tool rest has to go up much higher in order to hit center than what I've ever been used to before. The tool's working really good though. Also, tomorrow, one thing I'll be doing, if anybody wants to see, I'll probably do a video on it, is I'm going to need to make a S-curve tool rest. That will also help make things much easier. There we go. And now you can start seeing like this is starting to come down. So we're starting to get the live edge a little bit more like we want it. Feels like we're pretty good in thickness. A little thin right there. Yeah, there's still a whole lot of wood to take off of this big bolt. All right, everybody. Well, I think that is going to call this video done. The bolt is not, but I will be posting it up tomorrow. You see, it's going to be a pretty interesting looking bolt. Kind of an experiment. Hadn't really tried making one exactly this shape and this kind of a live edge. So this is getting pretty thin here on this bark. I'm not really sure how it's going to end up in this area, but I think it's going to be all right. So make sure and like, subscribe, and share, and that way tomorrow or the next day, probably tomorrow or when I get the video posted, you will be able to see the rest of this Bradford Pear ridiculously big bolt. All right, guys. Well, I'm getting tired and getting hungry. Lunchtime for me, and I'm gonna head out of here. If anyone has actually stuck it out for 3 hours and 17 minutes, that's pretty awesome. Thank you. I'm sorry. You must like being punished or something. I don't know. All right. Well, I'm hopping off here, and we will catch you guys tomorrow or whenever I get the next video up. Thanks for watching.